I inherited $10 million overnight. Then my lawyer disappeared with the will. Now I'm trapped in cryptic documents and family secrets that could save or destroy me. I never expected that my life could change so drastically or so dangerously in the span of a single morning. My name is Seraphina Wilde. I'm 29, and I was scraping by as a freelance graphic designer in Seattle when I received the call no one ever prepares for. My estranged great-uncle, Augustus Blackwood, had died and left me a multi-million-dollar inheritance. Augustus was a recluse, a shadow in our family tree whose mysterious absence from reunions I'd long shrugged off. But his final act, naming me sole heir to the vast Blackwood estate, felt less like generosity than a summons into the unknown. And the lawyer who brought the news, Jeremiah Blackwood, was more unsettling than comforting. He'd arrived at my cramped apartment with a somber expression and a thick, leather-bound folder. After a polite but terse introduction, he handed me the will. "Ms. Wilde," Jeremiah said, voice as smooth as aged bourbon, "this document outlines your inheritance. Please review it carefully. I'll return tomorrow to finalize the signatures." I thanked him, curiosity, and a flicker of apprehension coursing through me. He swept out before I could ask questions. I stared at the folder on my kitchen table as the city's dawn light filtered through stained glass, feeling like Alice peeking into Wonderland, the will and the warning. Inside the folder lay the last will and testament of Augustus Blackwood, dated only 2 weeks before his death. I, Augustus Cornelius Blackwood, of Blackwood Manor, being of sound mind, hereby bequeath all my assets, real estate, investments, and personal effects, unto my great niece, Seraphina Wilde, under the condition that she uncover the family's hidden legacy and prove worthy to hold the Blackwood name. Below his signature was an embossed seal and a cryptic notation: "Trust begins at midnight." No further explanation. My pulse raced. What hidden legacy, and why midnight? I ran my fingers over the ornate parchment, mind whirring with questions. But when I looked up, Jeremiah's chair sat empty. He'd vanished. No goodbyes, no follow-up call. A strange first night. That evening, I pored over the will under lamplight, feeling as if I were trespassing into forbidden territory. I jotted notes. Assets: Blackwood Manor, address included. $7 million in investments, various international properties. Condition: uncover hidden legacy. What did that mean? Trust begins at midnight. A clue or a trap? I tried to call Jeremiah's office the next morning. Voicemail. An hour later, I tried again. No answer. Anxiety prickled my skin. I decided to drive to Blackwood Manor, an old family seat on the Kitsap Peninsula, hoping to find Jeremiah or some staff. Arrival at Blackwood Manor. The drive north wound through evergreen forests and misty bays. Blackwood Manor emerged on a bluff, an imposing stone mansion, turrets and ivy-clad walls gleaming in the gray sky. A wrought iron gate stood half open, as if expecting me. I parked and approached the front door, my heart thudding. I knocked. No answer. The door was unlocked, creaking open on its own, revealing a grand foyer, marble floors, a sweeping staircase, oil paintings of stern ancestors gazing down. A chandelier of crystal prisms cast fractured light. Dust motes drifted in the silent air. "Hello?" I called, voice echoing. No response. I stepped inside cautiously, adrenaline buzzing. On a carved oak table lay a white envelope addressed to me in Augustus's handwriting. Midnight holds the answer. The library discovery. I wandered the mansion's rooms until I found the library, a cavernous hall lined floor to ceiling with leather-bound volumes. A massive desk held a flickering fireplace and a parchment map of the estate. I studied it, then noticed a hidden lever beneath the desk's edge. My pulse quickened. I tugged it. With a rumble, a section of shelving swung aside, revealing a narrow passage lit by a single bulb. I hesitated but stepped through. The secret chamber. The corridor led to a small chamber. At its center stood a glass display case with an ornate key and a locket inscribed, "Family First." On the wall, a plaque read, "He who bears this key shall unlock the true Blackwood legacy. Trust only what is written in midnight's shadow." I reached for the locket, feeling its weight in my palm. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "Stop digging, or the inheritance will be yours and your tombstone." My breath caught. Someone was watching, yet I couldn't turn back now. Racing the clock. I fled the chamber, closing the hidden door. Outside, the sun dipped below the horizon. I checked my watch, 11:45 p.m., 5 minutes to midnight. I raced upstairs, key and locket in hand, and found a matching lock on Augustus's desk. A small, ornate box, hands shaking. I inserted the key. The box clicked open at 12 a.m. sharp, revealing a sealed letter. With trembling hands, I broke the wax seal. Inside. My dearest Seraphina, if you read this, you are brave and worthy. The Blackwood legacy is not wealth, but truth. Your grandmother, my sister, was unjustly removed from our family decades ago. Her descendants were erased. Within this box is evidence. Photographs, documents, and a codicil restoring her branch. Use it wisely to reclaim not only fortune but justice. May you restore what was lost. Tears blurred my vision. My grandmother, whom I never knew, had been a Blackwood. I realized my own father had hidden this shame. My inheritance wasn't just cash, it was a birthright stolen. The vanished lawyer. Before I could savor the revelation, the sound of footsteps echoed behind me. I spun around. No one. I clutched the box and fled the manor, heart pounding. As I reached my car, my phone buzzed again. The lawyer vanished for a reason. Don't trust any of this. I revved the engine and sped away into the night, mind racing. The next morning, I would need to decide. Expose the truth and reclaim my grandmother's name, or bury the secret and keep the fortune. Update 1. I didn't sleep that night. The box, and its explosive contents, rested on my desk as dawn's gray light filtered through my curtains. My phone lay open to the last threatening text. Jeremiah Blackwood was missing. My grandmother's birthright beckoned, but danger shadowed every step. The disappearing lawyer. By 8 a.m., I had alerted Seattle police about Jeremiah's disappearance. Detective Riley Park took my statement at the precinct. She was a calm, no-nonsense woman with keen eyes. So you met him Monday, he left and never returned? Deet, Park asked, typing. I nodded. No calls, no shows, and he vanished right after delivering the will. Park frowned. We'll issue a missing person alert and check his known contacts. But you'll also see these messages, I said, showing my phone. He warned me at midnight. Then text vanished from his phone. Park examined my screen. Digital text can't vanish on your device. But if it was sent from a burner phone, the sender can't be traced. I'll check surveillance in the manor area. I exhaled. Thank you. As I left, she promised to keep me informed. Yet without Jeremiah, the will's legitimacy and the secret codicil's proof hung in the balance. An urgent call. Back home, my phone buzzed, a blocked number. Stop digging or the past will bury you. My heart stuttered. I and my grandmother's legacy faced a nameless enemy. I dialed Grandma's number. She lived across the Sound in Bainbridge. No answer. Anxiety coiled tighter. Perhaps she'd been targeted too. Seeking expertise. I needed allies. I called Dr. Elliot Grant, a family history expert I'd once met through an archive project. He owed me a favor. At his cozy office near Pioneer Square, walls lined with genealogical charts, Elliot greeted me warmly. I laid out the codicil's text and photographs from the box, a birth certificate for Evelyn Blackwood née Carter, a torn letter hinting at a family feud, and a faded group portrait featuring my grandmother as a young girl alongside Augustus and their elder brother Reginald Blackwood III. These are genuine, Elliot said, examining the documents under a magnifying glass. Handwriting matches known samples of Augustus's. The seals and paper stock align with 1960s estate documents. I exhaled relief. Then, the codicil is real, he nodded. Your grandmother was indeed disinherited. We can publish this lineage and demand legal rectification. But first, secure these documents, digitize and encrypt them. He showed me a USB drive with hardware encryption. I copied the files. Thank you. What next? Elliot frowned. We need witnesses. Anyone still alive from that generation. And you need to safeguard your grandmother. I felt a surge of resolve. Let's find surviving family, Reginald's descendants or old Blackwood staff. A mysterious informant. That evening, I received a second text from a different blocked number. "You're on the right track. Look to the caretaker's ledger." The caretaker's ledger. I recalled a mention in Jeremiah's paperwork of Mr. Harold Finch, the manor's longtime groundskeeper. I opened my laptop and searched for Finch. Found an old phone number from a property report. It still rang. A gruff voice answered. "Finch." I introduced myself and explained the ledger. After a pause, "I still have the book. Meet me at Blackwood Manor, after dark, alone." My pulse hammered. Was Finch friend or foe? Yet I had to trust a clue. Night at the manor. At 10 p.m., I drove back to the manor, heart pumping under the moon's pale gaze. The gates were locked. I used my great-uncle's key, still in my possession, to slip through. The house loomed silent. I found Finch's ledger in a weathered shed near the stables. Under a dusty tarp, the leather-bound book crackled open. Pages listed daily logs, repairs, deliveries, staff notes, going back 40 years. I flipped to the 1965 entries. June 12th. Master Reginald visits with Miss Carter. Mistress Evelyn present. Tension in the air. June 30th. Mistress Evelyn removed from household registry. Ordered by Master Augustus. Signed R. Blackwood. On another page. May 3rd, 2025. Lawyer Blackwood retrieves codicil box. Warns Mistress Wilde to beware. The last line sent shivers. Finch had been recording even days ago. I snapped photos with my phone. As I closed the ledger, a shadow moved behind me. I spun. No one there. Panic surged. I tucked the ledger under my arm and fled through the dark grounds, keeping low, my breath echoing. Confrontation and escape. As I reached the gate, a black SUV idled beneath the porch light. The driver's window rolled down. A silhouette too tall to be Finch. "Going somewhere, Miss Wilde?" a voice purred. I recognized it. Michael Archer's smooth drawl. My heart froze. He'd helped Olivia. I stepped back. "Stay away from me." He grinned. "You shouldn't have seen that ledger." He advanced. I tore the key ring from my pocket and, with a sudden lunge, knocked the driver's door. The horn blared. He cursed as the engine roared. I dashed through the gate, sprinted to my car, and peeled away. Tires skidded, but I kept going, every shadow a threat. Seeking protection. Shaking, I returned home and called Detective Park. "He's here." Michael Archer tried to stop me. I relayed the ledger's contents and Archer's intimidation. Park's voice was firm. "Send me the photos. I'll get a warrant to search him in his vehicle, and I want you to stay somewhere safe. I'll notify uniformed patrols at your address." I packed essentials and headed to a friend's apartment downtown, Zara Kim, a fellow designer with a spare room. As I slept on her couch, I felt the weight of inheritance's cost. The fortune was real, the legacy undeniable, but my life was in jeopardy. Rallying allies. The next morning, I met Elliot and Detective Park at a cafe. I handed Elliot the ledger photos. He beamed. Park reviewed my statement. "We've got grounds to arrest Archer for intimidation and trespassing," Park said. "And I'll pursue Olivia's involvement." Elliot added, "I'll begin contacting Reginald's descendants. They may corroborate Evelyn's rightful status." Hope flickered. With evidence, allies, and law enforcement, I could expose the conspiracy and restore my grandmother's name. A final warning. As I stepped onto the street, my phone buzzed. "Trust no one. Midnight is coming." I stared at the cryptic message. Midnight held meaning, Augustus's stipulation. But how did it connect to Oliver's warning? I realized the inheritance puzzle had more pieces. Midnight's secret, missing lawyer, Ledger's truths, and shadows of a century-old feud. And I was only beginning to unravel the Blackwood legacy. Update 2. I thought the ledger and its revelations would turn the tide. Instead, Olivia's reach and her allies grew more dangerous. With Detective Park on the case and Dr. Grant tracing lineage, I pressed on toward Midnight's promise, tracking Reginald's descendants. Dr. Grant and I pored over genealogy records in his Pioneer Square office. He tapped a chart showing Augustus, Reginald, and Evelyn in the 1960s. Reginald Blackwood III moved to Vancouver in 1972, he said. He had 2 children, your second cousins, Nathaniel and Claire Blackwood. They may hold first-hand knowledge of the codicil. I jotted notes. Contact info? Elliot nodded and emailed me their details. I felt a surge of hope. Living witnesses to Evelyn's disinheritance. Olivia's legal smokescreen. Back at my apartment, I found an email from Jeremiah's firm. Your inheritance is suspended pending legal review due to irregularities. My stomach dropped. Olivia had a corporate lawyer file a motion to freeze the estate, citing unauthorized codicil and questionable provenance of documents. My access to funds and the manor was now blocked. I called Detective Park. She sighed. We suspected as much. It buys them time, but we'll challenge it in court once we gather definitive proof. Midnight's trial. Remembering Augustus's clue, trust begins at midnight. I realized time was critical. Midnight tonight would mark the trust's activation, unless Olivia's motion prevailed first. I needed the codicil authenticated by Reginald's descendants and Jeremiah's witness, if he could be found alive. I prepared the sealed box of documents, photos of the ledger entry, and the original codicil. I planned to meet Reginald's daughter, Claire Blackwood, that evening. If she could vouch for its legitimacy, we'd present her affidavit to the court before Olivia's freeze took effect, the stakeout at Claire's condo. At 8 p.m., I parked near Claire's Vancouver condo building, phone GPS locked to her address. I buzzed her. No answer. I tried Nathaniel's number, silent. My nerves shot. Had they been warned off? I circled the block. A black SUV, all too familiar, idled at a distance. My heart thudded. Olivia's crew was tailing me. I called Detective Park, whispering the license plate. We're on it, she replied. I slipped inside Claire's lobby and sent a text. It's Seraphina Wilde. I need your help. Please respond. As I waited, the elevator dinged. Out stepped Claire. Early 40s, sharp eyes, cautious. Relief flooded me. I introduced myself, ushering her to a nearby cafe, gathering the affidavit. Over herbal tea, I explained Evelyn's story and showed the codicil. Claire's eyes widened. My father never spoke of disinheriting Aunt Evelyn, she said. He was outraged by Augustus's decision. She nodded. I believe this is genuine. I passed her the will and ledger photo. She examined them, tears brimming. I'll write an affidavit confirming our family's memory, she promised. I recorded her statement on my phone and thanked her. As midnight approached, I raced back to Seattle, car speeding through the dark. Jeremiah's hiding place. Detective Park had one lead. Jeremiah's burner phone pinged near an old Blackwood boathouse on Bainbridge Island. I joined Park and two officers in an unmarked SUV. The boathouse stood by a dock, moonlight glinting on the water. We knocked. Silence. Park signaled her team to breach. Inside, we found Jeremiah bound but unharmed. He gasped relief when we freed him. They tried to bury me, he croaked. Olivia's orders. She'd rather see the codicil destroyed than the truth emerge. Park cuffed him gently. We'll get you medical help, and your testimony, racing the court filing. With Claire's notarized affidavit, Jeremiah's corroboration, and Dr. Grant's authentication, I drafted an emergency motion to lift the estate freeze. Detective Park arranged fax delivery to King County Probate Court just before midnight. At 11:58 p.m., I held my breath as the clerk stamped our filing, motion to unfreeze estate granted, emergency hearing scheduled. I exhaled. Trust had indeed begun at midnight, Olivia's last stand. The next morning, Olivia confronted me in Margaret's conference room, face pale with fury. You think you've won, she snarled. This isn't over, Margaret interceded. Your motion has been denied. Any further interference will lead to charges. Olivia's eyes glittered. She spun and left. I realized, while the inheritance and codicil were safe, Olivia's vendetta hadn't cooled. She would strike again, but I was ready. Update 3. The morning sun glinted off Seattle's waters as I gathered the last pieces of our evidence for the King County Probate Court. With Claire Blackwood's affidavit authenticating the codicil, Dr. Grant's expert validation of the ledger, and Jeremiah's first-hand testimony, we had an unassailable case. Now, it was time for the final hearing. To unveil Augustus Blackwood's hidden legacy, restore my grandmother's rightful place, and dismantle Olivia's destructive schemes once and for all. The final hearing. On August 1st, at 9 a.m., the courtroom buzzed with anticipation. The gallery filled with Claire and her husband Nathaniel, Grandma Evelyn in a wheelchair beside me, Detective Park in uniform, Dr. Grant with a stack of files, and Margaret Chen leading our legal team. Olivia's seat sat empty, though her attorneys lounged confidently at the defense table. Judge Marietta Larkin entered, her gavel tapping. "We are here to determine the validity of the codicil dated July 15, 2025, to the will of Augustus C. Blackwood, and to address any motions regarding the estate freeze and beneficiaries." Margaret stood first. "Your Honor, we submit Claire Blackwood's affidavit attesting to the familial relationship and disinheritance of Evelyn Carter, Jeremiah Blackwood's testimony confirming delivery of the codicil, and Dr. Elliot Grant's forensic analysis verifying the authenticity of the documents. We request the court to rescind August Blackwood's original will as written, recognize the codicil, and appoint Ms. Evelyn Wilde as the sole heir." Claire, sworn in, spoke clearly. "My name is Claire Blackwood. I affirm that the codicil was created by my uncle Augustus, with my father's knowledge, to restore our mother, Evelyn Carter's, lineage. This was kept secret due to family shame, but it is truth." Next, Jeremiah took the stand, his voice tremor but held firm. "I am Jeremiah Blackwood, the executing attorney. I witnessed Augustus place the codicil in the sealed box on June 30th. He instructed me to deliver it only after midnight, and I did. I disappeared when threatened, but this is his final wish." Dr. Grant then detailed his forensic findings: paper dating, seal authenticity, handwriting comparisons. "The codicil and ledger are genuine and inseparable from the original will," he concluded. Judge Larkin studied the exhibits: original will, codicil, ledger excerpts, and affidavits. After a tense pause, she rapped her gavel. "The court finds the codicil valid. The codicil supersedes any earlier will provisions regarding Ms. Evelyn Carter. The estate shall immediately unfreeze, and Ms. Carter, now Evelyn Wilde, shall be recognized as the sole heir. Barring any further legal challenges, the transfer of assets is to occur within 14 days. A murmur erupted in the courtroom. My grandmother's tears of joy dripped onto her lapels as Margaret guided her down. I stood, chest tight, and hugged Evelyn, whispering, "We did it." Olivia's fate. After the hearing, Olivia's remaining allies tried a last-ditch plea, arguing procedural errors, but Judge Larkin denied every motion. Olivia, watching from the gallery, paled and fled as the courtroom emptied. Later that day, Detective Park served her formal charges: conspiracy to commit fraud, intimidation, and elder abuse. I learned she was suspended from practicing law and faced disbarment, reclaiming the estate. With the court's order in hand, Margaret and her probate team moved swiftly. Within a week, ownership documents transferred to Evelyn Wilde's name, her rightful inheritance. The Blackwood properties, including Blackwood Manor, investments, and personal effects, were inventoried and secured. Checks totaling $10 million were deposited into Evelyn's trust account, ensuring her financial security and enabling the Wilde Blackwood Restoration Fund we'd formed for community projects, restoring Blackwood Manor. In early September, I traveled with Claire, Nathaniel, and Dr. Grant back to Blackwood Manor. The estate, once neglected under the false impression it belonged to a phantom owner, still bore the grandeur of Augustus's architectural vision: grand turrets, formal gardens, and the secret passage to the ledger chamber. Evelyn, now in a wheelchair van, was escorted by Cyrus Bennett, my brother-in-law, and Zara Kim, who'd flown in to help. We gathered outside under a crisp sky. Claire handed Evelyn a golden key, the original key Augustus had given Jeremiah. Flames of emotion flickered in Evelyn's eyes as she inserted it. The ancient door swung open and she wheeled inside triumphantly, unveiling the hidden legacy. Inside the library-turned-exhibition hall, we displayed Augustus's personal artifacts: his desk with the sealed box, the caretaker's ledger with Finch's annotated entries, the codicil, and family portraits reclaiming Evelyn's rightful place among her siblings. Dr. Grant narrated the story of disinheritance and redemption to the assembled townspeople, historians, and press. Local news crews recorded Evelyn's tearful acceptance. My family was fractured by lies. Today, truth restores what was once stolen. Let no one forget that inheritance is more than wealth. It is love and legacy. Celebrating the truth. That evening, we hosted a heartfelt legacy gala in the Manor's ballroom. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light on velvet-upholstered chairs, and an orchestra played calming waltzes. Guests sipped champagne and reminisced over portraits of the Blackwood lineage now complete. Margaret and Detective Park received special commendations. Margaret for her steadfast legal acumen, Park for protecting Jeremiah and rooting out corruption. I stood by Evelyn as she delivered her speech, her voice steady and proud. To my beloved Augustus, who trusted me with his secret. To Claire and Nathaniel for turning memory into justice. To Seraphina, my brave great-niece, and to all who believed in the power of truth. May Blackwood Manor stand as a beacon for future generations. Applause thundered. Cyrus stepped forward, raising a toasting glass. To truth, family, and the strength to fight for both. We all toasted, Evelyn's crown of a restored matriarch gleaming in the candlelight, a new beginning. In the weeks that followed, Evelyn's trust funded scholarships in her grandmother's name, restored community libraries, and preserved Blackwood Manor as a historical landmark. The Wilde Blackwood Restoration Fund flourished, awarding grants to realize projects that promoted historical truth and family heritage. I returned to Seattle but remained deeply involved in the restoration efforts, balancing my graphic design work with nonprofit commitments. Dr. Grant continued to research other family mysteries, and Claire documented the entire saga for posterity. Jeremiah, recovering from his ordeal, resumed practice under supervision, advocating for elder rights law to prevent future abuses. Detective Park was promoted for her courageous service. Personal reflections. Amid these triumphs, I found healing. The fear and danger faded, replaced by a profound sense of purpose. My grandmother's appreciation, her laughter echoing in restored hallways, filled the void left by a childhood without her. I uncovered not just family secrets, but the resilient bonds of love, justice, and perseverance that transcended generations. On the anniversary of the hearing, I visited Midnight Grove, the oak grove on the manor grounds where Augustus's codicil had opened. Standing beneath ancient trees, I held his sealed box, now empty except for memories, and whispered, "Thank you." A breeze stirred the leaves as though his spirit blessed this new chapter. Inheriting Wealth uncovered a family's hidden betrayal and a brave journey to reclaim justice. Finn's story reminds us that legacy is built on truth, courage, and love. Have you ever unraveled your own family secret? Share your experience below. I read every comment.